I mean, I FaceTime with Lloyd a little bit and Liam, but other than that,
I'm alive.
I can see that. Yeah, that's good.
I work all the time, and I'm tired all the time, and
I
agree
with you.
I lost to Seamus with 86 points. You know, I was fucking hanging chemotherapy all week, all night, and I don't even get to like see my team lose.
I watched that whole thing unfold. It was amazing.
I work all 3 days this weekend too. Like they just know when like I want to watch football. Like
it just seems that way, right? Yeah.
But luckily I'm off for when I play Dylan. And hopefully all these guys from that monster trade I did with Tim get healthy. And I want to just run 200 on Dylan. That's kind of the goal. I don't really care about this week.
That's the only goal. It's just absolutely train wreck Dylan.
Well, theoretically, by the week 9, that would be exactly when Antonio Brown gets cleared. McCaffrey could come back, and DeAndre Hopkins might be healthy.
Well, Schefter was saying there's no guarantee that basically once Brown's suspension is up, they think he's saying there's a good chance he just goes to the commissioner's exempt list because the NFL and the police are still investigating his sexual assault claim. So
I think I could at least get him for a game. You know,
they already had
if I could just get him for Dylan and then he gets arrested, I'm cool with
it. They already filed they already had a financial settlement.
Yeah.
Well, you know, here's the thing, guys. Like, even if he doesn't get to play again, like he can always just rely on his rap career.
For sure.
Have you seen his album? That is the worst. That is honestly the worst thing I've ever heard.
Lloyd, Meek Mill's worst song or AB's best song?
Meek Mill's new single is actually just fire. Like it starts with a Donald Trump speech. It starts. I'll send it to you later. It is absolute fire though. It don't even need the Donald Trump part for it to be like.
Oh God.
It starts with like spitting at shorties and drinking 40s. Like that's a great rhyme, you know.
Tyler's just busy like getting all the stuff ready. Tyler, were you mad that the Bills didn't trade for Ngakoue today? There's one thing that Ryan Kerrigan is on the block, the dude for the Redskins or the Washington
football. Whoa.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Last week, and I gotta watch it this week because they're in the outline for the race for the number 1 pick with Kyle Allen playing quarterback and seemingly a fire sale. But someone was saying Ryan Kerrigan's for sale on that team.
Put Alex Smith back in.
Well, that's the other thing. They're looking to trade their two best offensive linemen, supposedly.
Don't put Alex Smith back in then. Yeah. Don't do it.
If you saw the first podcast, you know that's not a good idea.
They're just trying to even his legs out. Put him in, let him get the other one.
It's cheaper to probably buy both of the prosthetic legs at the same time.
He's gonna be like that guy from SpongeBob with like my heart attacks wake me up every night, break my ribs. Oh, totally. I'm very
as ready as we'll ever be.
Yeah, I've been studying all day for this. Where's the Scantron?
I'm gonna go like this.
Like what? I'm not gonna say. I don't know what to say for that. Hey guys. Gotcha. So are you introducing us then?
Yeah, he's the MC.
Oh, gotcha.
And then Seamus is Hembo from Get Up.
No, Seamus is Laura Rutledge. I'd hit, yeah. We're not on the air yet, right? I can say it.
You're about to get caught on the Joe Buck Troy Aikman hotline.
Yeah, I was gonna say Lloyd is Don Cherry after like 2 days.
I'm Jason Whitlock. I'm just not gonna give a fuck. I'm just gonna offend all women in sports, you know.
My mom asked for it too. Yeah. I'm like, no.
I'm not you can't have this. You can't watch me like attempt to get famous.
That's weird. My stepdad was looking for my Twitch. It was like a whole other thing. Law enforcement was involved.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh my
We
god.
don't see him anymore.
Damn, I had my first eagle today.
Do we want to all sit? We're all kind of like different distances away from our cameras right now.
I was kind of just gonna like be like,
Just only get in close for like the takes. Or just...
Love it.
That worked.
is it cool if I
guess,
like this the whole time?
Yeah, too.
What's up?
Hey.
Yes, thank you.
Five years, yeah.
28.
It's UB fifth-year standout, Justin Van Epps.
All right, can you hear me now? All right. All right. Well, let's get this show on the road, and I guess we'll start with our esteemed guest, Justin. I'm sure you enjoyed this past Sunday as much as all of us. What did you think of what were your main takeaways from this Packers-Bucs game, and why are you going to rub it in Lloyd's face?
Besides utter garbage. I mean, I was in agreement with Lloyd when I heard his hot take. I thought Aaron Rodgers was going to truly show that he's better than Tom Brady. But it's just the Bucs were just too much for the Packers. I don't know what happened. I don't know what it was that did it. But Aaron just looked like absolute garbage, and he wasn't the bad man. He was a soft man. He didn't do much. He didn't do anything. And Tom Brady just went to town on that Packers defense. And don't know what it was. I'm upset because I am a Tom Brady hater. I do not like Tom Brady. Therefore, I do not like the Bucs. But you got to give credit where credit's due, and they really hammered a Super Bowl contention team.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers, instead of being that bad man, he definitely looked more like the sad man. Lloyd, what did you think happened?
Well, I only got to see a half. I was around when I woke up, was having my coffee. Things were looking okay. He was doing that Key and Peele dance in the end zone. And, I was like, I can go upstairs. I can make some dinner before I head over to the hospital. I come back downstairs, interception. I'm like, probably shouldn't have got that cowboy hat prepared too early. I'm glad I didn't go enough. I'll save that cowboy hat for another day. But long story short, by the time it was 6:30, I couldn't even watch it anymore. It was disappointing, And I'll give it to Tom Brady. He played pretty well, but I think the real story there is that defense, 2 interceptions on potentially the second pick for MVP. I don't think anyone's really disputing, Russell Wilson as number 1, but.
Yeah, and unfortunately, because of Josh Allen's last 2 weeks, he has fallen very far from that MVP voting. Seamus,
Russ benefits from the bye week, though.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we'll see if he comes back to earth this week, or when he comes up against that Bills defense that can't get a pass rush or a turnover. Seamus,
well, they can't.
I know that you had some analytics for us on that Bucs defense. Actually, I guess both the Bucs defense and how the Packers have been playing these last 2 seasons. tell us what you think happened in an analytical standpoint.
Well, the Bucs defense is probably your most balanced defense in the NFL this year. So they're through 6 weeks, are fourth in passing DVOA, third in run DVOA, and they are 11th in variance. Really basically showing that they're coming in, week out, and being a pretty consistent team. And that defense was number one in rushing DVOA last year, but that was mostly because Jameis was turning the ball over so much that they were always playing in these high-stakes shootouts where everyone was basically throwing the ball all over the yard, and that was evident by being 23rd in pass DVOA. But I think the big addition for them on defense this year has been Antoine Winfield Jr. I want to say they picked him early in the second round. His dad was a corner for the Bills and the Vikings in the early 2000s, and basically his son plays exactly the same way. He hits real hard, and he's a ball hawk. But interestingly about the Packers, so they've only lost 5 games in the last 2 years. They were a 13-3 team last year, number 2 seed in the NFC, and they've only lost 5 games the last 2 years. But there is a big glaring weakness in all 5 of those losses. Probably highlighted best by that NFC Championship game against the San Francisco 49ers last year. On average, they're giving up almost 200 yards rushing in their 5 losses. This defense is soft in big spots against teams that run the ball. I mean, we all remember that NFC Championship game. Didn't Raheem Mostert run for 211 yards? Something like that?
I think it was 220.
Yeah, it was something absolutely ridiculous. And this is a pattern for them. They go up against good rushing teams in big spots, and they get punched in the mouth, and all of a sudden they're down 17-3. They got up 10-0, but they were pretty quickly then down 24-10. And with Rodgers' lack of discernible talent around him outside of Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones, it becomes almost insurmountable. This Packers team's great at front running, but you punch them in the mouth and they seem kind of soft.
Yeah, there's definitely, a lot of the speculation was, are they going to improve that run defense, or are they going to get Rodgers some weapons? And as we know, in that first round, they did neither. Liam, we have our first fan question today. Do you think Rodgers will ask for a trade after this season?
I think it's still a little too early to tell. We're only through 6 weeks, and they only lost 1 game. Kansas City lost a game to the Raiders. Baltimore Ravens have lost a game. Everybody's lost a game except for the Tennessee Titans, Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think the Seahawks haven't lost a game either. So, they're 1 game back. I just kind of saw it as a bit of a fluke. Everybody on this show I said he was going to get 19 fantasy points. He ended up getting 5. But that's okay. I scored 5 total fantasy points anyway. I think that's really going to depend on where they finish. I mean, obviously, I don't think this team's going to win a Super Bowl this year, just because of the way some of the other teams are playing. I don't see them being better than Seattle. I don't see them beating the Chiefs. But I also don't see him leaving unless they are asking him to leave, or they are making it seem like Jordan Love's their next up. Because I don't remember how many years Rodgers was on the bench while Favre was still playing. But I just don't see. He's still at the top of his game.
Yeah.
Where would he go? He's gonna go to Dallas. Why would he go to the AFC East? They already have more wins than that entire division combined.
He'd go to the NFC East and bring our championship to the Washington football team.
I think the CFL. I think the CFL would pay him well.
He's got a huge cap.
Green Bay. It's basically Canada.
I mean, he's owed a ton of money too the next couple of years.
He should join the Bucs. He could back up Tom Brady.
If they really wanted to trade him, they'd also have to find a team that can absorb his cap hit, which is pretty. That list is small. I mean, I'd make the room for Rodgers, but as the Packers are shown to, you kind of have to sacrifice other aspects of your team when you're paying your quarterback over $30 million a year.
I mean, they're in the playoffs at this point, right? They're a game back from the Bears.
Yeah.
They're the wild card team.
Yeah, they're the top wild card.
We'll get to the Bears later. That team's fake.
All right.
They beat the Bucs.
Well,
Fair enough. They didn't beat the Bucs.
nothing was a prettier sight than watching Khalil Mack absolutely ragdoll Tom Brady. All right, as much as we'd love to keep talking about anything negative about Tom Brady, we do have to get moving on to the thing that most of us in the chat are not looking forward to talking about. This Bills-Chiefs game, what a nightmare. So, I mean, I guess for our initial reaction to the game, Liam, tell me what you thought.
Well, I thought that whole game was summed up by those 2 personal foul calls on our Bills secondary. I mean, you can tell how frustrated those guys are. Even when the Bills stunk, we could at least say, man, I like watching that defense play. And now it's almost the exact opposite. We score a touchdown and I say, all right, well, now they're going to make it back up because I don't trust us at all. I was looking at stats to bring up. I don't have a lot, but I can say they've given up 12 passing touchdowns through these first 6 games. Little simple math, that's 2 a game. I think that's too many, especially for this defense that thinks they're should be number 1 in the NFL. They have 2 picks, all right? Only 2 picks. There's only 2 teams that have less than that. Obviously, it's a small stat, but the only 2 teams that have less picks than them are the Texans and the Cowboys, and they both have what? 2, 3 wins?
Two wins combined?
They're firing their whole GMs and coaches out here. I mean, for this secondary to be in kind of conversation, it's not good enough. They got to stop getting stupid penalties. They got to start getting picks. They got to start getting stops.
So, Seamus, before I ask you something specific, I'm sure you would remember, did we allow 19 pass touchdowns last year? I think it was something close to that.
I think in total it was 19, and I think a bunch of them came in if you take out a couple of games, it's like nothing.
Yeah, I don't think Trey White gave up like none, didn't he?
Yep.
Yeah, he gave up like a 0.
It was 0, yeah.
But of
Get that
course,
man back on wild now.
But of course, they had to give Gilmore the Defensive Player of the Year for allowing 1.
I mean, the Bills' defense last year, the most points they gave up in any game was 31, or no, not even 31. Yeah, 31 to Philly, and that's the only game they gave up more than 30 the whole year. Like, they kept every single opponent. I would say, I'm just quick scanning here, mostly in the low 20s, high teens, and we've gotten murdered twice now, where we've given up 42 to the Titans and got no red zone stops. They were 6 for 6 in the red zone that game and converting touchdowns, and I want to say, I mean, the Chiefs left a ton of points on the board, too, between the Kelsey fumble and kicking field goals late there when they could have pressed it. I mean, the Chiefs could have easily hung 40 on the Bills. And that's with the rain and, you could tell, especially early, Mahomes and Allen were struggling to get solid grips on the ball. It's kind of pitiful. And, you guys know, I've been calling for Leslie Frazier to probably, if not be relieved of of coaching, at least of the play calling at this point. Because, 2 years ago we did the same thing where we switched to McDermott mid-season, and it made a big difference. And he ceded the responsibilities back to Frazier last year, and it worked out fine. But sometimes I think, it's got to come from the top. If McDermott's a defensive coach and the defense isn't where he wants it, he's got to start taking some play calling responsibility, I think, to make it work.
Or just get Rex back in the building.
Oh, geez.
And his brother, they can fight on the sidelines. That'll get people.
And they can come in on a tandem bicycle. All right, Justin. So, if you take away last year's Pittsburgh game and maybe to an extent the Dallas Cowboys game, Josh Allen is winless in any game that can be quoted as mattering. As Bills fans, should we be worried?
No, absolutely not. I mean, Josh has taken significant strides since last year and even the year prior. I think he's only going to get better with time. He's proving his accuracy is better. I don't think he was all that bad in the Chiefs game. I mean, the first couple passes hit Cole Beasley in the hands, dropped it, hit John Brown in the face mask. That one that Stephon Diggs missed in the back of the end zone, it was in his hands, and I think if the weather was fine, he maybe catches that ball. I don't think he's giving as much credit as he has. he's gotten a lot better, and I think he's going to continue to progress as long as we fix everything around him. We have the receiving core. Let's get the running game back going again so he has time to relax, hand the ball off, and let them do the work. If we get a solid, above average to solid offensive line a little bit to open up the running game again, this offense can be scary good. I am a huge believer, and I think we need more Josh Allen running plays. Like, the guy is a weapon with his feet. The guy needs to get going. If the running game needs to start, it needs to start with him. So give him the ball, let him rush, and let Devin Singletary follow that.
And it's interesting because I felt like the only times that the offense seemed like it was starting to open up was right after a designed Allen run. So
exactly.
So the inner Josh Allen fan in me is just going to give you a quick little air horn.
Isn't that stat like a little skewed too? Didn't they take the Texans to overtime?
They did
in the playoff game.
But that
Texans team was good. I mean, the Chiefs just happened,
They did blow a 19-point lead in the second half, though.
I would argue.
Is that the defense or is that the quarterback?
Right.
I mean, you can't say if you take the team to overtime. You take the team to overtime, your first playoff game, your second or third year or whatever it is in the NFL. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's better than Lamar has done.
Lloyd, real quick, before we have one fan question about the Bills, but beforehand, Lloyd, Clyde Edwards-Helaire versus Le'Veon Bell. How is that situation stacking up, you think?
I mean, I think he should be fine. The thing about Le'Veon Bell is he's still got to go through the COVID protocol. He needs the 5 negatives. So that'll be next week. He would potentially be available for the Sunday after this one, right? But, how many reps is he going to have with them? Maybe they use him a couple of times in the red zone. I still see, Edwards-Helaire still being their primary, 3-down back. And I see that favoring me, perfectly in time to play Dylan. So that's pretty big, too. No, but, I mean, also, the reality to the people watching this, I traded Stephon Diggs and Travis Kelce for Edwards-Helaire, DeAndre Hopkins, and Jimmy Graham. And I think that's a pretty equitable trade. What I was being offered from Dylan was, what the hell, Robbie Anderson and Adam Thielen. How is that equitable to Chris Carson? Do any of you think that's equitable to Chris Carson?
It depends on if you're desperate for pass catchers.
I can't tell. Can you get closer to your camera? I didn't do that.
Is Robbie Anderson and Adam Thielen equitable to Chris Carson?
I don't know. I got
RB2?
Robbie Anderson. He was trying to make a 3-way trade. I didn't even give him Robbie Anderson.
Well, you know what happened? He was texting me all day. It was my only off day. I was trying to sleep and stuff, and he keeps texting me. He's like, I don't mean to nag, but you gotta look at this trade. And you know what? Tim pandered to my team's name, and it was one trade offer at 9 at night. I was like, perfect. This will piss Dylan off, and I think it makes my team better.
Well, all we can say right now is that it's probably looking like Edwards-Helaire is going to be the Ronald Jones to the Leonard Fournette that is Le'Veon Bell. Real quick before we move on, I'll hand this off to Liam since it's been a while since you chatted. Why do you think the Bills gave up Quentin Spain? Good run blocker, but didn't give up a sack all of last year.
To be perfectly honest, I don't really know why they got rid of Quentin Spain. Maybe they're just trying to. Maybe it's the kind of deal when in hockey they fire the coach just to send a message. Maybe that's not it, but I mean, I really don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of their offensive line. I mean, I think Josh has had reasonable protection so far. I mean, I don't know if they think that they can get anybody better. I don't know who they're replacing him with. Off the top of my head, but they might shift some guys around. But I think that they've been doing a pretty good job. All I can remember is the fact that I feel like I keep hearing the other guys get all the penalties. Ford's been having a lot of penalties.
Morse.
I think Morse has gotten at least 1 or 2. Dawkins. I mean, they've just been. I thought he was the best one, so I don't know why they got rid of him. That's a good question.
Something like this definitely raises the question of, was something going on in the locker room that we as fans have really no idea about, which that seems to be the most likely explanation, but unless he decides to go into a rant on social media, we will probably never know. But
let's have him on the show. Let's ask
Yeah.
him. We'll have to ask him ourselves.
Yeah. Quentin, if you see this,
do you have a fake girlfriend? Do you have an imaginary girlfriend? Are you Monte Teo?
Yo, when we getting Frank Gore on the show?
You mean from the University of Miami, Frank Gore?
Friggin' goat of the New York Jets.
Speaking of goats, Lloyd, well, I know this is your boy, so I'll open this up to you. Derrick Henry. So since 2018, he has been averaging 5 yards an attempt. Just registered his third game of 200 plus yards plus 2 touchdowns. Not to mention, every year since 2018, he has been averaging more receiving yards a game. Is Henry low-key making a push to be an MVP candidate?
He wasn't my name in fantasy football 3 years ago for no reason. All you gotta do is look back to when he was in high school. I was reading about this the other day. Apparently, he had a 600-yard rushing game in high school, where in the first quarter he had rushed for 196 yards. I think MVP, not MVP. My question, whenever I see that guy, is: has he been carded in his life? Do you think he's ever been carded? I don't think so. I'd give him the MVP just for that.
I don't really know how else to respond to that. I think that's the perfect segue.
I'd serve him a beer.
You'd serve him a beer without carding? Good to know.
I'd serve him a beer. I wouldn't even charge him, let alone.
He'd probably card me for serving. He'd probably be like, take your wallet out, and then throw me to the ground with one finger, or whatever he did to Norman.
That's a weight room issue.
Josh Norman needs Geno lift.
I thought I got vertigo when I watched that play. It looked like I was looking at it sideways.
The number of memes that I saw from that, it's absolutely unreal. I even saw one that was Derrick Henry had the McDonald's logo superimposed on his face, and then Josh Norman was the ice cream machine. Just anytime that you want a sundae, that's getting stiff-armed right away.
The crazy thing about that video is that, usually when you see those stiff arms, it's like Miles Jack is running the opposite way, on that Jags one, where, he gets shoved down. It's like, all right, he kind of lost his balance, but Josh was running towards him. And Derrick was moving kind of parallel, and so he wasn't even using his force. That was actually just all arm. And I'm watching it, I'm like, you know what? Nah, I don't think I'd want to do that.
And then the question on top of that, right, is Tannehill an MVP candidate? He's threw for 350 yards in that game too, on top of the 200 yards rushing.
Yeah, statistically, he's really making a case of being. I don't think anyone. I'm sure a lot of people are still rolling their eyes saying it's Tannehill, but it really makes you wonder what the hell was Adam Gase doing.
Who's been better the last 16 games he's played? Not many people. Maybe Mahomes.
He's the difference, because this is the same team that they had with Mariota that only put up 13 points on the Bills, and then they put Tannehill in and they made the AFC Championship game. He is the if you're talking about actual value, it's Tannehill. He's the one who made the difference.
Or Derrick Henry. The 200 yards in those playoff games didn't hurt.
But Henry was
Raheem Mostert did that the one game against the Packers. That was Derrick Henry all playoffs.
But the MVP is a regular season award, and I would argue the difference between the Titans the first 6 weeks and the Titans since then has been Tannehill, because they haven't changed anything else.
It's true. He does make the plays they need him to make.
All right, Juice. So, Deshaun Watson. Yeah. My God, is he the case of the most talented quarterback to ever be put in a position that's destined to fail? Because he's putting up David Carr level sack numbers, despite being incredibly mobile and infinitely better than David Carr.
It's crazy to me how he hasn't requested for a trade from that team yet. How do you not lose your cool when they trade away DeAndre Hopkins from your team. You're one of the best receivers of probably all time in the NFL. I think he needs to get out of Houston because he is insanely talented. I think he's a better Cam Newton, and if he gets to a system where they let him shine, he can make his case as one of the better quarterbacks, top 10, top 5, if he can succeed, if he can do it himself. So.
Yeah, you saw even with a decent amount of pressure in the AFC wildcard round last year, he was still able to absolutely decimate the Bills' defense. We really had no answer for him. I mean,
he's got all the weapons. He can pass. He can run. He's basically an underrated Mahomes. Like, he can do everything he can. He's just on the Texans.
Yeah, and it just makes you think, like, if they didn't give up all that capital for Laramie Tunsil, if they didn't trade away Hopkins, if they, but David Johnson, like, you gotta have David Johnson on your team after 3 years of not being healthy.
Oh yeah, big moves.
Well, not to mention too, the reason they traded Hopkins was because Bill O'Brien didn't like him, and Bill O'Brien's unemployed now.
Rightfully so.
Yeah,
it's a great way to try and get your job taken away. Is probably just get rid of the number 1 wide receiver in the league. That's probably step 1.
Well, not to mention too, Watson got hit so many times last year that he couldn't fly on a plane out of risk of him puncturing his lung because of how bruised and damaged his lungs and ribs were at a point last season. So he had to take the bus from Houston to Jacksonville for a road game last year.
Oh, if it was the Chargers, they're putting him in a rocket. They're sending him to the moon, bro.
Alex Cision would like to tell us that Bill O'Brien is his dad. I'm sorry, Alex, but your dad's unemployed.
I think it's Wentz. I think that the worst situation is Wentz. Stephen A. Smith put it best this morning. He called that team a walking infirmary, which I thought was hilarious. But like, you look at that injury report. That's a book. That's not like a page. It's they're all their like offensive line, his wide receivers. Who's he throwing to? I saw Andrew picked up that wide receiver. I can't even name the guy.
Yeah.
It's not Boston Scott.
Deshaun Jackson might be coming back this week, so.
Deshaun Jackson is more broken than Carson Wentz and Tua. Like,
that sounds like you get an air horn for that.
The air horn.
Deshaun Jackson might as well like be a scout.
All right. Well, speaking of Bill O'Brien being unemployed, Liam, Texans got their first dub of the year. Actually, no, did they? No, they just 2 weeks ago, and then they just
took the Titans to overtime.
They took the Titans to overtime, and it just fell out of their reach. How much of that do you think has to do with the release of the coach, and is that only good for 1 or 2 games, or do you think just having that fresh set of attitude in the locker room will help carry them to a semi-respectable season?
Well, like I said, being a Sabres fan for a while, I always remember when they got rid of Lindy Ruff and they were like, well, it was really more a statement to the players. And I was like, well, then get rid of the players then if our team's not. That doesn't make any sense. But really what I think it is the Titans or the Texans kind of seem to play to their opponent, right? Like Deshaun Watson looked really good, like Justin said. I think they're going to win a lot more games than a lot of the other, 0-win teams or 1-win teams. I think they're a lot better than their record shows already. I mean, the games that they started out with were ridiculous. I mean, they had to open up against the Chiefs. So like that's just an automatic loss on the scorecard immediately. And I think they've played the Ravens already too, right? They played the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Titans. And, that's like half of their losses. So I'm not willing to say that they're a bust yet, but I think getting rid of the coach, getting a fresh start, I think they're going to be a lot better for it.
And it's funny that you mentioned how they play to their opponent because I think it was last year where the Texans actually beat the Chiefs, right? Yep.
I think so.
Barn burner of a fourth quarter.
Was that one of the games where Mahomes was out though?
No. No, it was Mahomes' second game back, but Watson went absolutely nuts. I think he threw for 350 and 4 touchdowns and no turnovers. I think
That's a great.
Freeland alive that game.
Does any quarterback in the NFL right now have a winning record against Mahomes? Does Tom Brady have a winning record against Mahomes?
I think he does.
No, 1-1.
How is it?
No, well, they beat him in the playoffs, and then
And
I
then
think
they
they
lost
played
to
in the regular season.
They lost to him
twice.
What about Joe Flacco?
Goat.
He is.
Goat says.
He's pretty elite. So
the thing is, the Texans didn't change that much. Romeo Crennel had been there the whole time. I thought they fired him last year, but he's there, coaching.
All right. So, next we'll move on to Seamus.
What's up?
How many teams do we have? 10 teams that have 0 or 1 win in the NFL.
Yes. The Jets, Jags, Texans, Bengals, Chargers, Falcons, Vikings, Giants, football team, and Eagles all have 0 to 1 win. It's bad. This is the biggest disparity between mediocre and bad teams in a long time. And some of those teams with one win, I think, are not bad teams, but the schedule hasn't been super great for them. But my question, I guess I'll pose to everybody is, all right, you got to pick a team that's going to end up with the number 1 pick, and you can't pick the Jets. Of those 10 teams, who gets the number 1 pick?
Football team.
Well, I actually was going to segue this into a question that we got, which was, do you think the NFC East winner will be above 500 or below? And I would agree with you, Justin, that we're probably going to have either the football team. I did want to say the Giants, but at least some of their games they've been looking.
Yeah, I don't think the Giants. I think the Giants are going to win 3 games, maybe 4 if one game goes well and another team plays awful. But I don't think the football team is that good, and the Jets are garbage. And I can't pick the Jets.
The Eagles are the only team where it's maybe if they get healthy, they get 7 wins if they're lucky. I don't see the Cowboys getting much better.
Eagles, football team, or Giants, in my opinion, because they all play each other, and they'll just atrophy each other all for 2 to 3 wins. And
the Giants haven't beaten the Eagles in 2 years or something. The Eagles are 7-1 against them the last 3 years or something crazy.
The sneaky team in there is the Jags, because the Jags were the worst team by Vegas going into the year, and they threw everyone off the scent because they beat Phillip Rivers week 1, and they've looked awful every game since then. And the Jags have no roster talent outside of DJ Chark and James Robinson. Minshew is what he is. He is what he is.
He's all right.
Minshew is, and that defense, they traded everybody or released everybody. They're bad.
Tank for Tua.
And that defense, they traded everybody or.
Oh, am I getting a question specifically? This is
calling you Mr. Liam.
I don't know.
Are you a teacher?
Well, it's Hizzle Alex 14, so I'm gonna take a shot in the dark and say that's Hislop. But I'll read the question just in case it doesn't show up for people. But no, it just went away. But it looked like if the Titans had Deshaun Watson, would they be better or worse? I think that's tough to say because I think Mike Vrabel comes from a team like the Patriots where your quarterback is more of a facilitator of the offense. And so long as they can avoid picks, spread the ball around, and support the running game, then you're going to win football games. And like Lloyd said, Ryan Tannehill does what they need him to do. I don't think that there's anything that Deshaun Watson can do that the Titans really need him to do. I think the only time the Titans lose games is because I don't think they do a great job of play clock managing. because they're running the ball so often. And, you know, I think sometimes they run out of time. Mike Vrabel does occasionally make those really cool, you know, fake penalties to like stop the clock. I love that stuff. But I don't think they need him. But I mean, I'll leave that to other people too to say. I don't think they need him.
So I'm gonna pause for a second here. We did just get a follow. I want to thank Waffle Lord 87 for the follow. And guys, one thing I've always incorporated into my Twitch chat is something we're all familiar with. Anytime we get a follow, I do give them 2 sky claps. So I am going to really quickly say, can we give 2 sky claps?
I gotta hold my phone, so I gotta get my face a little closer. You know, gotta hold my phone.
Lloyd's sitting on a ladder right now to get good area light right now. So
We also just got another follow with Brett 23 Russell, so let's try that again without failing. So can we give Brett 23 Russell 2 sky claps?
I feel like we're all not doing it at the same time, and I feel like that's impossible.
Well, I mean, you know, we can edit it in post-production to make it seem like, you know, we did it all together.
We all got the claps down.
Can you just put like a Kamehameha in there or something and just cut all of us out?
All right, so let's segue real quick. We got a comment saying that guy in the Bills side looking real good, so right at you, Juice.
Swag does not come cheap.
So,
All my swag is borrowed.
we had another question for Liam.
Swag is like
ties into our next topic, which is wild card teams in the AFC and NFC. So I guess we'll start with Liam. Random team that you think would make the playoffs, a sleeper pick.
Oh, I do love my sleeper picks. And I think, did it specify a conference or something like that?
I guess it's more just pick a sleeper.
All right. Well, my sleeper right now is the Miami Dolphins. I think that even though the Bills kind of smacked them around a little bit, I think that was kind of us at our peak. And, you know, my favorite player on the Dolphins has got to be Mike Gesicki, or Mike Gesicki, his birth name. This guy catches literally everything that is thrown to him. Fantastic fantasy player. If you can pick him up, I recommend doing it. But I think Brian Flores is a really good coach. And I think if Tua is as good as we think he's going to be, I think he's going to be really good. I feel bad for Fitz, but, you know, I think they got the potential to win some games. I think they can beat the Pats. I think they can beat the Jets again. I think they've got a potential to slip in a wild card spot, and I'm actually a little worried about them in the AFC East, but hopefully I think we got them.
Very
Tua
nice.
can get those tutties.
Yes.
That's what you're telling me.
Yes.
Yes.
If Tua can get those tutties.
Oh, all right. So, someone told me that that's a cold take, so naturally I need to give you an air horn.
The Dolphins is a cold take?
They're aren't they the wild card team right now?
I think
They're
that, I mean, I
500.
think it's probably the Browns. I think it's the Browns right now.
They still got to play the Jets again. I mean,
yeah, I think
they're
they
gonna
got
get
a lot
some
of
wins.
Team. I think Vegas is the 7th seed right now.
Seamus, who you got?
Push 'em.
Yeah, so I'm gonna take. So just to give everyone a clearer picture, for your AFC wildcards, you're probably looking at some combination of New England, Miami, Cleveland, Indy, and Vegas for the 6 and 7. And I'm gonna take the Vegas Raiders here. I'm a little worried now because it seems like their whole offensive line isn't gonna play against Tampa because they all might have got COVID. Which, if that's the case, not great. But if Derek Carr is going to throw the ball deep, like he did against Kansas City, and look not afraid, John Gruden is a really good coach. Like, you can make fun of John Gruden because he's a meme all you want, but like that guy won a Super Bowl like multiple times, and probably could have won multiple Super Bowls with that Oakland team before, back in the early 2000s. Their defense is okay, but I think he can manufacture 30 points a game. If you can get up to 30 points a game, you got a shot. And I think they have a really soft schedule coming up too. So,
And don't forget that that Super Bowl winning team had the illustrious Brad Johnson as their quarterback.
Yeah, you can win with bad quarterbacks.
If you can win with a bad quarterback, you're probably, at the very least, in the sleeper conversation. Lloyd, who you got as your sleeper wild card team?
I agree with Liam. I mean, I don't see the Dolphins. The Dolphins weren't bad with Fitzpatrick, and I mean, Tua. People forget because he was hurt. The guy was a stud. He lost 3 or 4 times his whole college career. Came in the national championship at halftime and won the game. I'd imagine that. I mean, just off the like motivation side of it, they get a couple more wins. You know.
Sorry, I got distracted because we got another follow. So, all right, we get to practice this again. T Flannery 103, thank you for following, gentlemen. Can we give him 2 sky claps?
I'll give Tommy the middle finger.
That's a
We don't
great.
know it's him.
That's because I know him.
Could be another T Flans 103. We don't know that.
Yeah. If that's not you, then we apologize profusely. Lloyd does not represent the majority of us. Juice, who you got as your sleeper?
I mean, it seems like the Dolphins is a common theme here. It's just they look good. It's hard to say that they're not a good team right now. They went and spent a boatload of money on people this past season, and if it doesn't come together this year, it's going to come together next year. They're a team to watch out for. But everyone's saying the Dolphins. I think maybe the Colts, and if the Saints get their stuff together, they're going to get in there, unfortunately. They're usually top of their division, but right now they're not. So I think they have to work hard for a wild card spot. And again, like I said, Phillip Rivers looks great right now for the Colts, and I think if they can continue to win, I think if they go 9-7, they could get the wild card spot.
Well, real quick, we got another.
Oh my gosh.
So let's all thank CT Boomin for the follow, and can we give him 2 sky claps?
What do we do for donations? Do we have like beers to shotgun or something?
I don't know. All I know is that if there's a donation, it plays the Predator scream. So.
Oh, jeez. I think it should have to be like on Highly Questionable when Poppy sings during like the commercial break. Like I think Lloyd's got to put together one whole verse like a Big Sean song or something like that.
Yes,
Perfect. All right. Well. I won't go too much into mine, and I don't know how much of this can really be considered a sleeper, but I do know that after the first 2 weeks, people were really kind of off of the Cardinals, and as of right now, despite being 4-2, they still sit in third in their division. I do think the fact that the Rams lost to the Niners might come back to bite them if they start getting into a foot race with the Cardinals for that wild card spot. So I would definitely think that the Cardinals could really threaten that wild card spot. I don't think they're going to beat the Seahawks because the Seahawks, their defense is trash, but there's really nobody that can stop their offense either. So I don't think anyone's going to really contend for the NFC West, but I think that the Rams are going to stay hot for a little bit. I mean, I don't know. They just lost to the Niners, so maybe they're going to start petering off, and then the Cardinals are going to take their place.
So on that, the Rams have won 4 games this year. Who have they beaten?
Eagles.
The NFC East. They beat the NFC East. Anytime they play
Yay!
you know what? The Rams boys the NFC East playoff spot. The Cowboys, Eagles, football team, Giants, none of you get to go to the playoffs. The Rams get your spot. They put an X next to their name.
All right, real quick before we got
No, do not pander to Tommy here. Just don't.
All right. So
we only pander to Tim Whalen on this show.
All right, we are collectively ignoring the question. All I'll say is T. Higgins is on one of my fantasy teams. He's all right. I'm not too disappointed with him. Okay, real quick. Each of you, I'll pick on you, and I want to talk about one quarterback who you think is on the hot seat. Keyword quarterback, not coach, because sometimes they're not. They're not mutually exclusive. But I'll start with you, Seamus. What quarterback would you pick right now who you would say is absolutely on the hot seat?
I'm going to pick Baker Mayfield.
Oh, that was my pick. Damn it.
I got a whole list in the Google Doc. There's some other good ones, but I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield. So this is year 3 for Baker. Same quarterback class as Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, who is also on what it was someone I was considering in Lamar Jackson. Baker Mayfield was the 2018 NFL Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. He played, I want to say, 13 games, but those last 8 games with Cleveland, he looked good. They won a lot of games. They almost made the playoffs. It was like, oh, this Baker Mayfield guy, he's the king of RPOs. He's the king of moxie, swagger. We're going to put him on every commercial. He's the face of the league. And then he sucked last year. And everyone said, okay, big adjustment with expectation. The coach started, let's get an adult in the room and Kevin Stefanski, and we'll go from there, and everything will be good. And then he comes out this year and you can't say it's from a lack of familiarity. You can't say it's because the offensive line's bad. They have the number 1 pass blocking on DVOA in the league. It's turned into the clear weak link in Cleveland is last week, and he threw that god awful pick 6 to look like over the bracket on that side, and instead just hit the safety right in the numbers. I mean, he has regressed since that 8-game stretch at the end of his rookie year. Baker Mayfield is the limiting factor in Cleveland.
It looks like Chev is running out about 2 frames per second right now.
I know. We're starting to drop some frames on the stream, but I'm trying to save some of the frames.
Should I drop some bars on this?
Yeah, when Cheving's frame rate drops, Lloyd has to drop some quick freestyle.
I don't know.
So I guess, if we're picking quarterbacks that are on the hot seat, really my first thought, unfortunately, even though, I've kind of been going with the mustache and I'm a big fan of Gardner Minshew, but I think he might be on the hot seat considering they just seem to be completely rebuilding. And if they had the opportunity, I mean, I don't think they're going to get the number 1 pick, and I don't think they're going to be able to get Trevor Lawrence. But if that team could get him, and with the amount of just destruction they have been doing to their entire team and, getting picks and getting all this free cap space, I mean, they can make a run at anybody. And I know you asked me that question earlier, would Aaron Rodgers leave? There's going to be some quarterbacks on the market. There's going to be some good quarterbacks in the draft, and I think a lot of them are better than Gardner Minshew.
Very nice. Lloyd.
I mean, I would have to say Tua. I mean, Fitzpatrick was playing well. I mean, he's got to come in and do something. Like, he can't come out and throw 3 picks. I feel like they'll put Fitz right back in the game, and that would really mess them up. When you start going back and forth with the quarterback like the Bears.
Juice.
I mean, who's on the hot seat? I mean, I want to say Kirk Cousins does not look good, but who are you going to put in? Mannion? No, I'm going to keep Kirk Cousins in over Mannion all day long. Wentz has a problem, again, with his team not being healthy. I think you have to have him a couple games with his full team healthy. But put Jalen Hurts in.
You got to give
Jalen Hurts a shot.
You got to
Let him
give
run
Justin
around.
the
Let him
buzzer
do
for
something.
knowing who the Vikings' backup was.
Yeah,
Just
whatever
off
noise
that.
we've got, who has to take a shot for that?
I mean, also with Baker Mayfield, are you going to put Case Keenum in over Baker Mayfield?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
He's Kevin Stefanski's boy.
He was the offensive coordinator in Minnesota. Keenum made the NFC Championship
Yeah,
game.
he was like a statistical anomaly that year. Like the rest
Maybe
of his
give him a
career was
shot.
god-awful.
Give Case Keenum a shot. I don't know.
Put Case
But
in.
Kirk Cousins, he's probably going to figure something out. I mean, Justin Jefferson's playing well. Adam Thielen is there. He's just got to figure out how to complete passes. But
The
I don't
big
know.
issue with Kirk Cousins is he's like some of my friends who like lived down the block when I was younger. Like when the street lights come on, they gotta go home. They go home, man.
I think the Eagles should give Jalen Hurts some time, see what he can do for the team, especially with an injured team. Run around, create some plays.
He fumbles the ball too much.
I said give him a shot. I didn't say what he's usually done.
Push around the block once. Don't give him the keys.
I'm a Wentz sympathizer though. I'm like the equivalent. I see Wentz like Crib sees Brady though. Like he can do no wrong.
You've got the poster on your wall.
Oh hell yeah.
I mean, I think one of the bigger problems for quarterback in the NFL is the Jets. I mean, if Trevor Lawrence decides to stay another year, they're gonna have a bad year of another quarterbacks. It's a pick between Sam Darnold and Joe Flacco. Do you want a piece of gold-covered poop or a piece of moldy bread? Like something that used to look good, but now it's not good anymore. Like that's the problem they need to figure out. They just need to figure that out right away before they do anything else, because it's just not pretty. It's not. I would rather just snap the ball to nobody.
After this year, they might as well just move. They might as well like try and move in that stadium. Actually,
just run the Wildcat. Just give Frank Gore the ball under
Frank Gore Wildcat.
Yeah. Nothing is more New Jersey than the combined win total between both those teams to be 1.
And I do have to say that I hate the notion. I mean, I'm torn because as far as the Jets go, I love that they're having so much trouble with Darnold and that he's regressing so much. But the football fan in me is like, it's so unfair that he's on the hot seat because very little of any of it is his fault. But now you're actually seeing regression to the point where it's beyond Tannehill. Like, he's practically a ruined quarterback. He's just damaged goods at this point.
I don't know, get Gase out of there and maybe he becomes a quarterback.
Gase out of there he's out of coaching for good, right? Like there's no way he gets unless
apparently not.
Unless the Browns need somebody. Like
you'll see in 5 years, Adam Gase is the offensive coordinator for like a 10-6 Atlanta Falcons team, and you're like, huh?
That's a hot take. We're gonna have to look that up in however many years when that happens.
The thing about Adam Gase is like, it's like, you know how they say first impression like means everything. You just have to look at him, you just what are you gonna do with that?
To the camera like that.
I mean, the Jets. I think the Jets have way too much pride to listen to everybody. They're like, if we're gonna fire Adam Gase, we're gonna do it on our own accord. We're not gonna listen to anybody else. It's the equivalent. Like, all right, I'm gonna do it because I want to, not because he told me to.
Take our football team.
And I'm gonna intervene and give like the biggest air horn to CT Boomin because he's just wrong on this one.
Josh Allen on the hot seat?
He is
Absolutely not.
No, listen.
Maybe he eats too much Duffs, but like besides that, he's
even if like I know a lot of bandwagon Bills fans like are very quick to be like he should be. The Buffalo Bills organization has been so starved for a franchise quarterback that now that there's even the slightest notion that he could be it, they would rather stick with him for 7 years and watch the organization burn than decide, never mind, Josh Allen is not the answer.
We lost to 2 good teams. We lost to 2
really good teams.
The Kansas City Chiefs. Like Kansas City Chiefs aren't going to drop 2 games in a row. It's not going to happen.
So
okay.
I think the more interesting question with Allen isn't necessarily the hot seat question, because I agree with Tyler that they'll more than likely keep him around no matter what. It's what does his extension look like? So he's extension eligible at the end of this year.
Oh, crap ton of money.
Yeah, they're going to extend him 110%.
We're talking Carson Wentz
Many
money,
years.
Jared Goff money, for sure.
Many years.
So I don't think so.
What are they gonna? They have to pay him. What else could they do?
Something closer to the Garoppolo deal, where
That's still $104 million.
I'm talking about the way it's structured specifically. So the Garoppolo deal was front loaded for 1 year, and then it got after the 3rd year. His dead cap hit is under $10 million, which is why on the outline, the person I said, I don't know if he's on the hot seat, but I think his team has a wandering eye at quarterback is San Francisco and Garoppolo, because I think that they would gladly take the opportunity to upgrade at that position. What an upgrade looks like to them is up for debate, but I think they saw what happened in that Super Bowl last year, and we're like, he ain't it. When it matters most, when we can't run the ball for 250 yards a game, Garoppolo is not it.
They did give up 14 points in the fourth quarter, the last 10 minutes. I mean, that wasn't all Jimmy Garoppolo.
I'm also going to say I've heard from people who cover the NFL on podcasts and stuff that they've already started saying that they have heard rumblings that John Lynch is unhappy with Jimmy Garoppolo as the long-term quarterback in San Francisco. They're definitely
CJ Beathard.
They're at least. I would say this: if a guy like Rodgers was on the market, I would say they would throw the kitchens. That would be the number one destination team for a guy, an older veteran quarterback, ready to win now. Kyle Shanahan is the best play caller in football in terms of scheming.
Sean McVay would have something to say about that.
McVay has that.
Shanahan also coached that ridiculous Falcons offense with Ryan, Julio, and stuff, where they pass the ball a ton. He's shown run versatility. Shanahan's better. McVay is the third best play caller because Andy Reid's also amazing. Andy Reid is
so handsome.
Get called, but I'm telling you, if you see in the start of the 2021 season that the starter in San Francisco is not Garoppolo, don't be surprised.
I wouldn't be.
All right. So, I'm going to combine our look ahead with one final question for each of you. I want each of you to give me one hot take for the next week of NFL football. We will start with Seamus.
Oh, let's see here.
We are coming up on an hour, so we probably want to start wrapping things up.
So, okay, I got it. Kyler Murray throws for more yards than Russell Wilson this week, and the Arizona Cardinals beat Seattle.
All right. Lloyd, what you got?
Fitzpatrick will see the field this during the second half. I'm saying it's something I don't think I think he'll play great, but I see something bad happening.
Next week. They play next week.
Whatever. 2 weeks. That's all I got. I didn't watch any games.
Oh, wow. Liam, what you got?
All right, so I've got the battle of the Heismans. I think Joe Burrow beats Baker Mayfield, and I think he really puts the pressure on him in that division. And I think he just has one of those games where it's like 4 touchdowns, no picks, ridiculous number of yards, and he just has one of those plays where afterward, the quarterback's just like, I'm the GOAT, that sort of kind of that the kind of game that Baker would have against somebody younger than him or older than him, so I think it's going to be that kind of game. I think they trounce the Browns for no reason.
All right, Juice.
The number 1 running defense in the league brings Derrick Henry, God status, back down to earth.
Really? Is that who are the Titans playing this week again?
Steelers.
Oh, the COVID Bowl! Wow. All right.
I think he rushes for less than 120 yards.
I mean, against the past
that's so bad.
Yeah, it's so
For
bad.
him, that's bad. For him, that's bad. But I think they bring him back down.
All right, so my hot take, and oh god, y'all are gonna crucify me for this one. So, here's the deal.
Time's coming up.
Are you getting naked?
Anyone who knows me knows that my boy, Josh Allen,
Oh my gosh, he is taking off his clothes.
Uh-oh.
is absolutely primed to blow up all over the Jets defense.
I want a number.
Here's the deal.
What's the number?
Is that a hot take?
It's not going to happen.
Jets.
It's not going to happen.
I could throw for 500 yards against the Jets.
I think low-key, with John Brown potentially being out, I do think that that the Bills are kind of going to look past this week and look at New England similar to what people thought they were doing.
You're calling a loss.
I'm not going to call it a loss, but the over-under is 13.5. I am going to say that it is going to be a less than 4-point game. I think that the Bills
against the Jets.
I think my hot take and here.
I'm take my tie off for this shit. This is too much.
My hot take is that at some point the Bills will be trailing in the second half of this game.
No way.
Yes.
Hey man.
I agree with Tyler. I have been quietly spouting this take to him with him back and forth. I'm legitimately a little worried because of the accumulation of injuries that the Bills have.
I'm not like I said, I'm not calling a loss, but I do think it's going to be a close game, and I think that the Bills will be trailing in the late third to early fourth quarter. And I think we are going to need to see some semblance of fourth quarter Josh Allen in order to win this game.
I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think we are going to trail at all.
I think they win like 30-0. Like I think it's
Lloyd. You thought that the Packers would win by 5 scores against the Buccaneers.
Yeah, but that's so different. Like the Buccaneers are like at least a serviceable football team. Like the New York Jets, like I wouldn't even be confident for them like covering the spread in the SEC. Like,
Didn't Joe Burrow say that he thinks that not Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence said that he could beat the Jets?
Yeah.
That wasn't real. That was yeah. There's no way Trevor Lawrence could say that. He's a God-fearing man.
Oh, no.
Okay. Very last question before send off, and I just want one-word answers. At the end of this season, will the Jets be the worst team in NFL history? Seamus.
No.
Lloyd.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Liam.
No, because of Dan Orlovsky.
Juice.
Yes, absolutely.
As a former Jets fan, I'm sure you're not too upset about it either.
No, I love to see it.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, gentlemen, despite sound issues, frame drop issues, any issues whatsoever, we made it. And sky clap issues. Who could forget? Oh no, is that an Eli Manning jersey?
Oh, go.
Oh no.
That's my hot take. He's coming out of retirement.
Well, gentlemen, what a ride this was. Thank you so much for being here, and everyone else, thank you for being with us. This was a fun time, a fun podcast. Let's get after it next week, next Thursday, same time, same place, right here. Highly disputed. Until next time, gang, take it easy.